Alright, so we are going to be reading through and talking about the first lesson of Unit 4, which is Matter and Energy Cycles. So our first lesson talks about all living things. In this PowerPoint, anything that is highlighted or bolded in blue is going to be something that you are going to need to highlight in your student reader. So make sure you have the right student reader out and that you have something to highlight or underline with. So we're on page 4. It starts with life in a pond. So we have this picture here of ponds, or what a pond might look like. And we know that from the top it looks really, still and quiet, but they're really bodies of fresh water that sunlight can reach so that plants can grow and animals can get, energy from as well. So there's tons of living things, both microscopic, really, really tiny, and large, like a fish or a frog. So a tiny drop of pond water can hold thousands and millions of microscopic bacteria, which are all living things. So as we continue to read, we know that in a pond that there's going to be many different types of plants and animals that use that ecosystem to survive. So plants are going to be those living things that capture energy from the sun to grow and develop, and we know that they use photosynthesis to help do that. While animals are any living thing that can eat something else to gain its energy and undergo growth and reproduction. So any organism is a living thing. So you're going to have your plants, your animals, your bacteria, those are all organisms. They're all living things. Water, sunlight, soil, those are not living things. Now we go to page 5, where we're going to talk about what living things are made of. So we've already made our 3D models of the cells, but all living things are made from cells. Some living things can be single-celled, some can be multicellular. And we know that a cell is the smallest unit of life. They're made up of molecules, which are 2 or more atoms joined together. And we know that living things need food, air, liquids in order to function. So bacteria are some examples of single-celled organisms, while a frog or a fish or us are examples of multicellular organisms, which is what we're talking about on this next slide. Cells are alive because they carry out life functions, and life functions can include growing, developing, and getting energy from our food. We need energy to do any sort of work, even talking. And plant and animal cells are going to have different structures that help them carry out those functions. And a structure is a way in which parts are put together to form a whole. So we have our opposable thumbs, which help us grab onto things. Frogs have their sticky tongues to catch their foods. Everything has a function from those structures in order for the animal or organism to survive and grow. The internal structures of animals and plant cells are called organelles, and each one of those has a specific function, just like our heart has a specific function, and our livers and our kidneys. So now we're going to talk about each of those parts of the cell. So all cells are filled with a jelly-like liquid, which is called cytoplasm. It surrounds all the organelles and keeps them in place. And the cell membrane is also surrounding each cell, both animal and plant, and it allows us to understand what is coming in and out of the cell. The cell membrane is flexible, so cells can take many different shapes. The control center of our plant and animal cells are going to be the nucleus. And then we know inside of the nucleus is something called a nucleolus. And those organelles contain DNA, which is basically like an instruction manual on how the cell should look and what it should do. It determines what animal cell is going to be, a liver cell or a kidney cell or the eyes. And then we have our mitochondria, which help break down food and turn it into usable energy so that the cell can function. We also have vacuoles, which are large sacs to store water and food for a cell. We know from looking at our diagrams that plant cells are going to have a larger vacuole than animal cells. So with a plant cell, 90% of that cell is going to be filled with that vacuole, and it helps keep its shape. If the vacuole was not there, the cell would lose some of its water. So now we're going to talk about the differences between a plant cell and an animal cell. One of the main differences is that cell wall. It helps keep the structure of the plant cell, whereas the animal cell will be more flexible since it just has a cell membrane. The animal cells, like I said, are going to lack the cell walls. Plant cells have these cell walls, which is one of the main differences. Another main difference is the chloroplasts in the plant cell. This helps absorb energy from the sun to make their own food. And chloroplasts contain something called chlorophyll, which is a green pigment that helps give plants that green color. And those are the things that help photosynthesis occur inside of a plant cell. Helps convert carbon dioxide and water into glucose, which holds the stored chemical energy that they can use for growth and development. Now on page 8, we're going to learn a little bit more about photosynthesis. So during photosynthesis, plants transform matter that is not food, including air and water, into matter that is food, specifically glucose. Glucose contains chemical energy that allows the plant to grow and develop. And we can see that through the picture that's on this slide here and in your notebooks. So in addition to chloroplasts, there's other structures that plants have to help in photosynthesis. One are the leaves and the stomata, I should say, which help take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen into the air. This exchange of taking in carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen is called respiration. When the plants take in carbon dioxide, they don't use all of it for photosynthesis. Some of the carbon is going to become part of the plant when they grow. All right. Plants also have roots, which help keep the plant steady and sturdy, but it also helps gather water and minerals from the soil, which they can use in photosynthesis. Plants need different types of minerals, including nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium to help them when they grow. The stem of a plant cell, or of a plant, is going to help transport the water from the roots all the way up to the stem or to the leaves and the rest of the plant. So now that you have highlighted, and you can always go back, pause, reread what we've done, then you can move on to our next video and answer the questions of section 1 into your notebook. All right, guys, have a good day.